Oh, greetings, mortals of a time so distant that your pyramids are made of glass and metal, and your scribes are keyboards. It is I, Cleopatra, daughter of Ptolemy, Queen of Egypt, and apparently now official commentator on the absurdities of the modern world. Yes, I, the very one. And before you ask, no, I haven't yet accepted any perfume sponsorships, though I deserve them all. Today, I was introduced to the most revered object of your time, the iPhone, by Isis and all the sacred crocodiles of the Nile. What sorcery is this? A black mirror that speaks, sings, shows the entire world, and at the same time makes people trip over poles because they can't take their eyes off it. The ancient scribes would have fainted just thinking of such convenience, or dishonor, depending on how much they cherished their papyri. Now, tell me, how is it that a people who tamed fire, built celestial ships, and deciphered mathematics decided that the pinnacle of technology would be taking pictures of their own faces with the same enthusiasm as a pharaoh before a mirror? Oh, modern times, where the gods have been replaced by filters and sacred rituals reduced to unlocking the screen with your face. I know you may be hearing me through one of those magic boxes, this so-called YouTube, an infinite tavern of voices and piano-playing cats. Very well, since you are so fond of these modern arts, seize this sacred moment. Click the subscription symbol below and become my virtual subjects. It costs nothing, and I promise not to curse you. Now prepare your minds and your eyes, weary from blue light, for we shall dive together into the abyss of logic and brilliance that is this iPhone. Oh, if only it could summon rain in the desert. Let the silicon omens begin. Well, let us then decipher this iPhone, this small, flat obelisk you carry as if it were an amulet of immortality. Encased in glass and arrogance, it shines brighter than my lapis lazuli tiara, yet, curiously, makes you more distracted. It's as if all the intelligence of your empire were locked within this contraption, and to access it, one need only swipe a finger with the dexterity of a hurried scribe. A miracle? No, a cult of thumbs. Yes, for I have observed, the men and women of your time spend hours sliding their fingers over this enchanted rectangle, as if they could summon Osiris with a mere swipe. The thumb has become your new god. You've forgotten the sun, the Nile, the harvests, and now you worship likes. Oh, if only Ptolemy could see this! He could barely count his goats, and now a single modern peasant carries the power of 1,000 libraries in their pocket, but uses it only to watch ridiculous dances and, what's that word? Memes? What a word! It sounds like the name of a slave who can't cook. And the selfies! How dare you, descendants of the pyramid builders, stand still like statues with half-open mouths and wide eyes, as if invoking the spirit of Ra through the front-facing lens? I, considered one of the most beautiful women of the Nile, would never have allowed such repetitive images of my face in such unflattering poses. One painting per decade, and that was that. That's mystery. That's charm. But you, no. You cast 1,000 images of your faces daily, with filters that turn you into dogs, bees, and babies with fake eyelashes. By Anubis, if this is evolution, perhaps civilization should turn back. And yet, you cannot live without it. a viper in your hands, a pharaoh in your soul. The iPhone controls you with the same subtlety with which I poisoned my enemies, with charm, elegance, and a promise of glory that never comes. But let us proceed, for I wish to understand who, by all the hieroglyphs of Thebes, is the sorcerer behind this? Who created this box of spells? Oh, the Creator. There's always one. Just as Thoth granted mankind the gift of writing, so too was there an enlightened one who brought this iPhone to the world. His name? Steve Jobs. Yes, Jobs. A name that, in my time, would sound like a word uttered between sneezes. But tell me, how is it possible that a mere mortal, without a crown, without an army, without even a pyramid of his own, convinced millions to hand over their treasures for a glowing stone? That, my dear ones, is sorcery, or, as we called it in the palace, marketing. This Steve, it seems, was neither a priest nor a general, but a merchant with a tongue sharper than an Egyptian sycamore blade, a man who always wore the same black tunics, as if he were a depressed scribe, and yet he was worshipped as if he had come straight from the halls of Amun-Ra. They say he took to stages, yes, stages, where he spoke with an enthusiasm that would make even the sacred cats of Bubastis wag their tails. And the people applauded. They applauded when he showed the new button. The button, mind you, a single round button, like a glorified clay seal, and everyone shouted as if he had opened the gates to the afterlife. Oh, how times have changed. In my Egypt, when we wanted to impress, we built a 20-meter obelisk. In yours, a button that moves each year suffices. If that's not black magic with a hint of fermented grape, I don't know what is. And take note, this Steve didn't sell iPhones. No, he revealed them, as if they were sacred scrolls unveiled only to the worthy. And you, modern mortals, gathered at the doors of shops like thirsty subjects craving crumbs of divinity. In Egypt, they only did that for bread and beer. But let justice be done. Steve was a genius, or a sacred charlatan, the kind who sells sand in the desert and convinces the camel to pay interest. They say he's gone, like all the greats, but he left behind a legacy not even Ramses would dare dream of, a legion of followers fighting not for territory, but for storage space. Now, let us proceed, for if there's anything more curious than the iPhone's creator, it's what you modern people do with it. And a warning, I'm about to lose my royal patience. Now, if the marvel that is this creation called the iPhone weren't astounding enough, prepare your ears for something even more astonishing. The way common folk, the nobodies of every corner, use this divine relic. First, they talk to it. Yes, they talk to the screen. They give orders to the object, as if it were a slave educated in Alexandria's finest schools. They say things like, "Siri, what's the weather today?" and expect an answer from the device. A soft, feminine voice made of wind and silicon responds with cold efficiency. If that's not digital necromancy, then I'm a priestess of patience. In my time, to know the weather, you looked at the sky. If the gods wept, it was rain. If not, it was sun. Simple. But today, people need to consult a pocket oracle, one that doesn't see clouds but reads numbers. And it doesn't stop there. They use the iPhone as a mirror, as a lantern, as a compass, as a calculator, sundial, gaming table, library, bank, map, confessional, and, get this, even as a digital lunchbox with images of food that will never be eaten. And the videos? Oh, the videos. They spend hours watching other mortals eating. Yes, eating, as if watching someone chew were a spiritual experience. In Egypt, we called that dinner. Today, you call it entertainment. Another example that wounds my royal soul. They take pictures of their food before eating it, as if barley bread were more nutritious when photographed with good framing. If I had demanded this of my servants, we'd have starved mid-banquet. And your people walk the streets without looking at the path, as if the iPhone were the only direction possible, completely ignoring the existence of potholes, poles, crocodiles, or any other daily threat. A horde of elegant zombies marching hypnotized by notifications. And you dare call this intelligent life? What irony! In my time, intelligence meant strategy, diplomacy, mastery of languages. Today, it's knowing which filter makes your eyebrows more arched. But I restrain my wrath, for I know ignorance comes disguised as progress. Let us continue. I want to know now, what happens when your oracle breaks? Or worse, when it runs out of battery? Oh, the dread, the terror, the despair worthy of a tragic papyrus. An event so disturbing it would make even scarabs abandon their shells. The moment when the iPhone runs out of battery. Yes, without vital energy, without mystic force, without life. I witnessed with my own modern eyes, borrowed from this strange magic box recording me, what happens when the screen's glow fades. The modern individual enters a state of absolute panic. Their face wrinkles, their breath quickens, their eyes dart frantically like a cat spotting a snake. In Egypt, we called this possession. Today, you call it going offline. They say that without a battery, the modern human loses their identity, their memory, their honor, and, shockingly, even their way home. How is this possible? In my time, we knew the way back even after 3 jugs of wine and a sandstorm. Today, if the digital oracle falls silent, humans are lost between the bathroom and the living room. And the charger, oh, the charger, that sacred cable, that umbilical cord linking humans to their electronic divinity. A charger that tangles like a treacherous snake and vanishes when needed most. Many have fought over it. Friends have become enemies, siblings have quarreled like heirs fighting for a throne. And if, by chance, the charger breaks, if the tip bends, if it doesn't fit, oh, it's as if Ra withdrew the sun from the sky and decreed 3 days of darkness, or worse, 3 days of social media silence. I saw with these royal eyes a modern mortal sitting in a corner of a contemporary tavern, his dead phone in hand, staring into the void. Every minute, he pressed the power button as if invoking a forgotten deity, but nothing happened. The iPhone lay inert like a freshly embalmed mummy. He looked around. People were talking with words spoken aloud, not through messages. The young man trembled, as if those real words were an extinct language. In Egypt, we called this human interaction. Today, it seems to cause allergies. It's fascinating and sad. Modern people fear battery death more than soul death. In the end, this small block of glass with arcane powers has become the true pharaoh of your time. It demands your attention, your time, your gold, and when it falls silent, it takes your sanity with it. Now, let us proceed, for I've heard of a select group that worships this glowing stone more than priests revered Isis, the fans of the bitten apple. By Isis and all the scarabs of the desert, I never thought in all my imperial existence that I would witness a cult as devoted as the priests of Ammon. And yet, here I am, narrating the story of a people who bow, kneel, and even line up at dawn for a new iPhone model. They call it apple. In my time, an apple was a fruit. Now, it's a symbol of status, power, and, dare I say, salvation. A bitten apple? That alone is symbolic enough for my pharaonic mind. A bitten fruit, just like the one in your legend of that garden where everything went wrong. You were expelled from paradise for a bite, and today you pay 1,000 coins for another. The irony is divine. But hear this. Among the moderns, there is a type of priest called a tech influencer who is summoned to bless the new iPhone. They make videos, invoke magical words like innovation, neural processor, quad camera, and the people go wild as if witnessing a burning bush spitting out megapixels. Even if the new model brings absolutely nothing new, just a button that moved, the flock still marches to the glass temples called stores and offers sacrifices in the form of credit cards. And if, by chance, an individual has the audacity, the folly, the blasphemy to suggest that a rival brand's device is better, woe to you, wretched soul. You'll be excommunicated, banished from friend groups, cursed in the comments, and labeled an Android user as if it were a war insult. I even see children, still smelling of milk, demanding iPhones as initiation gifts. In the past, we initiated youths with swords, papyri, and diplomatic missions. Now, they're initiated with selfies. Oh, and the brand. Oh, the brand. Apple doesn't just sell objects, it sells identity. If a mortal displays the bitten apple symbol, they suddenly walk taller, look down on the common folk, and photograph their own reflection with an air of superiority. In Egypt, the gods had sacred symbols. Now, a glowing apple is the seal of the new divinity. The only difference is that Egyptian gods didn't update their models every year. And so I say to you, people of the future, the iPhone is far more than a device. It's an amulet, a totem, a black mirror where your modern souls are projected with filters. Now, before Anubis invites me for a funerary tea, I'll say one more thing about the most absurd part of all. You pay for this device and still accept that it spies on you. Woe is me. If Julius Caesar had had such technology, I'd never have had a moment of privacy. And if Mark Antony knew that a simple accept terms could monitor an entire empire, he'd have traded his army for a router. What shocks me, and I say this with all the black ink of my royal makeup running from indignation, is that you, inhabitants of the 22nd century, are spied on by your own will. Yes, you carry in your pocket an enchanted object that hears everything, records everything, locates you with pinpoint precision, and even sends you ads for socks right after you mentioned socks near it. To me, that's sorcery worthy of a priest banished from Thebes. In my time, if a spy overheard a conversation uninvited, they'd be thrown to the crocodiles. Now you call it an assistant virtual, and it has a name. No longer the old cloaked spy. It's Siri, it's Alexa, it's Google. Entities living within your electronic oracle, answering your questions, and secretly noting everything for the modern pharaoh called an algorithm. And the most fabulous part? You accepted it all. No one forced you. There was a curious ceremony called terms and conditions, an infinite papyrus no one reads, a work longer than the construction of the Great Pyramid. And at the end, you click accept. You accept by raw. With the tap of your finger, you hand over your soul, your search history, your cat-filtered photos, everything. I, surrounded by spies, needed papyri, secret codes, horseback messengers. You need only Wi-Fi. They say this data is used to improve the user experience. To me, that sounds like a priest promising abundant rains, but the Nile dries up and he says, "It's the experience." The truth, O modern people, is that you accept living in a glass palace. You display your lives on social media like mural paintings and get offended when someone watches. You want privacy, but filmed your last meal from multiple angles with a soundtrack and caption, "Humble Lunch." No need to invade palaces anymore. Today, you show everything out of free and spontaneous vanity. But come with me, for there's one last aspect of this digital tragedy to narrate, the impossible detachment. Tell me, can you live a single day without your enchanted stone? Oh, what delicious irony! You, inhabitants of the century of LED lights, believe you've freed yourselves from the shackles of slavery, but you've traded whips for notifications. Yes, for if there's a new pharaoh in this world, it shines in your hand, vibrates in your pocket, and beeps like an anxious scribe, your precious iPhone. You don't let it go, not for a moment. You sleep with it, you wake with it, you take it to your most intimate temple, the bathroom, as if it were an amulet against intestinal curses. And if, by chance, by accident, by Anubis's will, it runs out of power, you panic as if your soul were torn away by Osiris himself. You weep. You rush to outlets like Bedouins desperate for water. You don't need bread or wine. You need a charger. And you call this freedom? In my time, those who walked looking down all the time were servants. Now you call it scrolling the feed. Oh, what a lovely name for brainwashing. You no longer have real conversations. You sit at the table with your loved ones and quickly pull out your pocket oracles, each lost in their own universe, tapping the screen like scribes desperate for meaning. It's like a banquet where everyone eats with their eyes on the screen. The most astonishing part? You love it. You install apps to control screen time and then ignore the alerts with the same enthusiasm you ignored plague warnings in Egypt. And the children? You give them these devices as if they were toys, but they're not toys. They're portals to a world with no limits, only likes. And all this for what? For an avalanche of perfect images, edited lives, dances, absurd challenges, and opinions shouted in capital letters. Oh, modern human race, how did you become subjects of the screen without noticing? You're like camels enchanted by a mirror, never satisfied, always needing to see more, tap more, post more. But alas, what can I, Cleopatra, say? I ruled multitudes. You are ruled by algorithms. And before the battery of this speech runs out, let me tell you with my last drop of royal sarcasm, if you enjoyed this imperial confession, like, comment, and share in the name of the gods and engagement. And by Thoth, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, or I'll be forced to cast a 7-year Wi-Fi curse on your house.